One last point on Aaron Rodgers, and this came from your column last week. I saw a quote in there from Bob McGinn about his belief that Aaron Rodgers, in big moments, shies away from taking chances, shies away from potentially throwing interceptions because of the havoc that interceptions wreak on the passer rating statistic. And it's a fascinating point. I know it's something Sims talks about. There's a politics of playing quarterback that causes some guys to shy away from taking a shot when the shot is there because they don't want that interception on their stat line. But what I extrapolated from that is that Aaron Rodgers, to the extent that he fears the blowback statistically of throwing an interception, because, like, who the hell cares about what your stat line is? You're still one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. I think at some level, Peter, he's going to be hesitant to go to another team. Let's say he would go to Tennessee, even though they've made it clear they want Ryan Tannehill. I think it would make sense for Rodgers to go there because they could own the AFC South. We don't know what the Colts are going to be. Hell, we could go to the Colts and it would be the same thing. Colts or Titans. Let's say he goes to an AFC team and he's the 1 seed. And he loses again, either the divisional round or conference championship. If that happens, the narrative shifts ever so slightly from currently, if they don't get to the Super Bowl, it's about what the Packers have done to fail to put the team around him. If he goes somewhere else and it's the same result that we've seen in Green Bay, now it's going to be, well, maybe it was him. Maybe he's the one that's not stepping up in the big spots. Maybe he's the one that can't get it done and punch through to the Super Bowl. Maybe the fluke was 2010 when they were the 6th seed and they ran the table, because they haven't run the table since then. He's been the MVP 4 times. And they haven't managed to get back. They've been the 1 seed at least 3 times, and they haven't gotten back. He goes somewhere else and gets the same result he's gotten in Green Bay. He's the one that's going to get the blame for 12 years of futility.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Mike. I think there's an element of truth in what Bob McGinn wrote, but I always think when I read something like that, I always think I want to see the receivers he passed up. I want to see end zone view of 15 times in 2021, how he passed open a guy, wide open down the field going like this, and he dinks it off, to a tight end. So I'm not doubting Bob McGinn because he's very, very good at what he does. But I do wish that I could see 10 to 15 snaps where he did that, where he passed on the downfield receiver.
Well, and I think this is where Rodgers may be a victim of his brilliance, because we've seen how many times he can thread that needle with a guy who isn't running open down the field like Jamar Chase was on that fateful final 4th down in the Super Bowl because Jalen Ramsey had gotten his feet tangled and fallen. It's more there's a keyhole that we've seen Aaron Rodgers throw the ball through before, and he's resisting the urge to do it in a big spot. I think that's how I read the criticism, that it's not guys who are open that he's missing. It's shots that he would take in the regular season more often than not, that in those bigger moments he's not taking, and that would be harder to pick up on film. But again, the windows he's putting the ball through are very, very narrow at times, and it's amazing. And you expect him to do that all the time when you see him do it some of the time.
Yeah, I took it as a general criticism of not wanting to throw interceptions at all, not necessarily all in the postseason. But, hey, look, his last 2 playoff games are grim. They just are. The way he ended the game against the Bucs at home, and then basically 4 quarters against, think like 53 minutes against San Francisco. I remember talking to Kyle Shanahan after that game, and, we were just talking about how amazing it was that in what could be Aaron Rodgers' last game at Lambeau Field, you made him look like a guy, just a regular guy. And Shanahan said, he goes, on that first drive, he said, we're out there and it's ridiculously cold and everybody is trying to adjust to it and there's wind. And he goes, Aaron Rodgers took them downfield like it was 70 degrees and they're in Miami. And I'm exaggerating. I forget what exactly he said, but that's in essence what he said. And he goes, I don't know how he just did that, And then that was the last time he did it all day. He didn't do anything the rest of the game. Last 9 drives, 3 points. So to me, he's got some unfinished business. And look, I don't want to absolutely, go crazy about this. But there's one other little factor, Mike, that if I were Aaron Rodgers, I would say I should pay attention to this too. And that is that the 2 non-conference divisions that they're playing this year are the NFC East and the AFC East. And look, you've got the Bills and the Patriots and maybe the Dolphins being good in the AFC East. But in the NFC East, really, what do you have? You got a home game with Dallas, okay? And then you got the Eagles, the Giants, and Washington. And then you've got the Jets, and they have relatively speaking, a very advantageous schedule to win home field in the NFC if Aaron Rodgers comes back.
Unbelievable to think that a team could have the 1 seed for 3 straight seasons, but it's looking like at this point, Rodgers is considering coming back
and enter the 3rd season without having made the Super Bowl in the first 2.
He could, if he wanted to, come back and play out the final year of his current contract, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know the total average on this deal is $33.5 million with his Jared Goff money, and there was a debate last week. Does he want $50 million a year? He says it's not about the money. I was told previously it's not about the money, but he does deserve. He does deserve $50 million a year, and the cap keeps going up and up and up. And you got broadcasters making $20 million a year. That's got to have an impact on the guys who play the game. And when you look at where he is on that list, tied with Jared Goff, behind 5 other guys, just ahead of Kirk Cousins for crying out loud, Rodgers deserves to be at least at 45, if not 45.1, if not 50. And we'll see what that contract looks like. And the other thing that a new contract does, a 2-year deal, fully guaranteed, would represent an implicit acknowledgement by the Packers that Jordan Love is not going to be his successor, at least not on Jordan Love's rookie contract, because Love's got 2 years in, and he's got 2 more years on his rookie deal. Now, they could still pick up the 5th-year option. He could still be the successor. But for the 4 years covering the Jordan Love rookie deal, Aaron Rodgers would be the starter. When Rodgers thought in 2020, when he heard the name Jordan Love, quarterback, Packers, with that draft pick and filled a glass with a whole lot of tequila, that fear will have never come to fruition.
Mike, I'm going to just go back and bring you words on Sunday of draft weekend in 2020 from Brian Gutekunst, general manager of the Packers, when he was getting roasted for trading up to take a quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, I think at the time 36 years old. And, he defended the pick to me and talked about how this is what the Packers do, and it's what they did when they have Favre and all that other stuff. All of it made sense. But then he issued this statement. He goes, I said, what if Rodgers plays great? What are you going to do? And he goes, then he's our quarterback, and it'll be good for the Packers. And what they have basically acknowledged now is that I think even if Jordan Love had gone out this year in Kansas City and outdueled Patrick Mahomes and won 35-31, okay, and threw for 387 yards, I still think Green Bay would be doing exactly what it's doing right now, because and it's so interesting. I've asked almost every veteran quarterback in the league over like the last 8 or 10 weeks, starting later in the season, when I've asked them, what are the pros and cons for the Packers? And these are guys who I know a little bit, who I can ask them. And one of these quarterbacks told me, I thought, the perfect thing that totally crystallized my thinking. And he goes, the reason why, if I were Green Bay, I'd never trade Aaron Rodgers, even if I knew he was going to walk away and all I was going to get the next year is a third-round compensatory pick. I would never do it for one reason, because in the NFL, 1 year is an eternity. And what he meant was, if you have a chance to win any year, you have got to take it. And that's why, if you're the Packers, you look at this coming year and you say, we have to do everything in our power to keep Rodgers and to make one more run at this, because they're looking at the same thing that we are, that we've just done for the last 20 minutes. And that is, you look at the schedule, you look at the division, you look at the conference. They are clearly the favorite to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And it doesn't matter that the defending Super Bowl champion is in the NFC. The Green Bay Packers are the clear favorite to go to the Super Bowl again this year, just like they have been the last 2 years. But they would be nowhere like that without Aaron Rodgers. And you can't say to me that that's worth 3 first-round draft picks. It isn't. Having Aaron Rodgers, even if for only 1 more year, that's worth more than having 3 ones.
Yeah, the window is wide open for the Green Bay Packers to try to get a Super Bowl trophy that would bookend Aaron Rodgers' career. They got one in his 3rd season as the starter, and it's been a long decade plus. They could still get one more, and this year coming up could be their best chance because of the factors.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.